Alright guys, I am back with another video. So I was wanting to do a whole a complete guide on setting up offsets for different weapons, but that's actually going to take too much time, and I don't have a whole lot of time today to try to do this. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is we're going to get this idle animation from the third person kit right here, and we're going to create an additive for it. And this is primarily just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to create an additive for it, and then I'm going to create a two-bone IK. An overlay for this, and I'll show you how to do that. So anyway, let's get started. What we're going to do, and I'll go ahead and show you something I did here. This part right here actually isn't necessary for what I'm doing here. I can just set that to hand R. And basically on the forward solver for the CR mannequin body control rig for creating animations, on the forward solver, all I'm doing right here is added a sequence. And off of that sequence, I'm just setting all the IK bones to be at the locations of the hands and the feet. That's all I'm doing. That's how you can constrain IK bones. If you want to be able to control the position of the IK handgun, you need to create a control for it, as I did right here. I placed it under this one, and I set it to be the initial position of the IK handgun. This isn't a tutorial on setting up a control rig, so I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but I set the control to be at the position of the bone right here on the backward solver. With that out of the way though, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to the meshes, and I'm just going to, I guess I could drag this one out since it's set up on this one. And I'm going to come up here and add a level sequence, and I'm just going to say additive. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to track, actor, and add the sequence here. And what we're going to do is go ahead and delete this. I don't know why it adds that, but go to animate and go to idle. And I guess we should use the MF idle, since this is the female version that we're modifying. We're just going to set the end of the keyframe right here. And you can go ahead and save it in case Unreal crashes. I don't know what version of Unreal you're using, but I'm using 5.1.1. Sorry. So we got our idle animation here, and we're going to bake this first to the control rig. Right click on the skeleton and go to bake to control, bake mannequin body, just say create. You'll see all these controls now. Ignore that extra one I created, you won't have that one. I don't even have it hooked up right now, so it's redundant really. So you'll see we have all this animation data baked to the control rig. We're going to right click on the control rig, CR mannequin body, add section, additive. That'll create an additive. Just extend this out one frame, because I think even in 5.1.1 this is still a bug. So just extend that out one frame or more, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that it goes beyond the end of this. Otherwise you'll have one frame where animation data didn't get translated, and if you try to use the snapper tool, it'll also crash Unreal. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to get this weapon. I'm assuming you got a weapon. If you didn't, just get the Sci-Fi Weapon Dark or whatever free pack is available, and you can use those. So go into your outliner, and you're going to identify which one it is, this one. And we're going to drag this one onto here. It's got to be a skeletal mesh. If not, then it may not let you attach it. And I'm just going to say hand R. I'm not going to show you how to do it for the IK bones, which is really the proper way to do it. But I'm not going to show you how to do that because that's not what this tutorial is about. So if y'all want me to do a separate video on that, I can do a separate video on that later when I have more time. But basically you want to zero this out. And then just rotate it and position it in the hand the best you can. Again, this isn't an animation video per se, so I'm just trying to get this concept across to y'all. How you can create additive animations. And I'm going to switch from world to local because it makes it easier. And just try to position that in the hand where it actually looks like he's grabbing it, is basically all I'm trying to do. It needs to be tilted back actually like that. So maybe like that too. And then brought out and down a little. And that's probably about as best as I'll be able to get it right there. So with that, just come to the control, and we're going to position the finger a little better. And I don't know why that's controlling the entire finger. That's weird. This must be a new 5.1 thing they added. But we'll do something like that. And then right here, we may just position it the best you can there. I'm not sure why that's happening. That's weird. Okay. I mean, it's useful, I guess. It's pretty cool. Oh, make sure you have auto key enabled. I forgot to mention that. So you're probably going to, just to make sure that nothing gets left out, don't move to another frame. Go ahead and key this. That way everything is keyed. And so now we can, oops, that's the wrong bone. If it doesn't undo, just go to edit and undo. For some reason, the undo hotkey doesn't always work. Select your arm after you've positioned your fingers the way you want. And don't make the same mistake I just made and assume that that we're using inverse kinematics, because we're not. I'll show you how to fix that. Come back to the control main body and expand the global control. And then I wish they wouldn't key all of those. Just delete all those keys right there and then key the first one on both of those, and that'll put it in IK mode. And then let's come back over to this, and we will select this and move it up and rotate it. Maybe go into global now. and just position it however you want. It's not a real big deal. I think I get a little carried away sometimes with this stuff. This is just a video after all, a tutorial video, but let's go ahead and move this effector into a more appropriate location here. And now we will move the other hand into position. And we want the hand to be, I guess, right here. You could put it right here. It's up to you. But we will move this over here. Probably going to want to rotate it a little bit. Probably more than that. Like that, probably. And we will drop it down. And I'll just rotate it like this. And I know I'll probably make this look easy, but I've done this stuff a lot. You'll get used to it after a while. It's something you just have to do a lot before you kind of get the hang of how all this stuff works. And now we will, Jesus, sometimes these controls can feel a little wonky. You're always expecting them to rotate when you move your mouse a certain way, but they'll rotate a different direction. I think these will allow me to, oh yeah, that's cool. My suspicions were correct. If you don't have the version of this with these, well, that sucks. You'll have to do them one by one. And that made it a lot faster. Just correct this a little bit and that should be good. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want with this thumb. You can bend it like that so it doesn't look so hyperextended and unnatural. And then just do something like that. And then if you want, you could leave that down or you could bring that elbow up. I think it looks better down, but anyway, so what we're going to do is we are going to, and again, this is something that you have to have 5.1 for this because it has the constraints right here. If not, you can use the snapper tool and you can select this. You can select, I don't know why it's saying I have multiple selected. Okay, that seems to be a bug of some sort. That's odd. Okay, anyway, you would select this, set it as the child, and then you would probably select the weapon, but you'd have to add the weapon into here the same way we added the character by selecting it, and then going to here and going to add the weapon, or you could just set the right hand as the parent, and that should probably work. So I don't know why it's bugging out on me and selecting multiple when obviously I don't have multiple selected, but that's beyond the point. If you have 5.1, you can use constraints. So just select your control here and go to constraints. We'll go to add constraint. We'll go to, I think this might be a parent constraint. And maybe the grip. I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but if I move this now, then you'll see that the hand moves with it because it's a parent. And so now I can correct the rotation of this all at once, and I'll move this in a little bit, something like that, and move this to a more appropriate location. Looks a little bit more natural, I think. So anyway, after you've made your animation, sorry for the long-winded tutorial here, then you would save it. Make sure you save constantly, because crashing is the reality of Unreal Engine 5. It will happen to you. If it hasn't happened to you, then it's probably because you've spent less than 10 hours in Unreal Engine 5. So what we need to do now is right-click on this and bake the animation sequence. And choose your folder. You can say Quinn, I guess, since we made this for Quinn. And I will call this MF Rifle Additive. Now, you don't have to make this as an additive technically, but I'm just doing this to demonstrate how you would make additives. So now, because we made this from the idle animation, everything except what we changed is the same as the idle animation. And so if you've seen my last video, when you set up an idle animation, it's like it's the base pose minus the reference, minus the animation, or the additive minus the reference pose, which is in this case going to be the idle. So if we come over here, we can go to local space. More than likely you would probably actually want this to be in mesh space if it had something to do with rifle aiming, but for this case I'm just going to use that. We're going to say selected animation frame, and we are going to choose the animation we made this from. And so basically anything that is different will have a value. Any rotations on any of the bones that have been changed will have a value greater than or less than 0. But if they're the same between this and this, then it'll have a value of 0. So for example, we didn't touch the legs, so because the legs are still in the exact same positions, 0 will be added to the animation we overlay this onto. But if we have difference in rotation, then the difference between where the arms were here and the difference between where the arms are here will be calculated, and that will be applied to whatever animation you overlaid onto. And so because of that, sometimes the rotations might be greater than what you would want them to, and you'll get an odd look when you apply it to an animation. Like the arms will be too far up or too far down or too far back. If you want to apply finger offsets or hand gestures between different animations, then all of your animations need to have the same hand positioning. So the hands need to look exactly the same between all of these. If this one had a finger that was bent at a 90-degree angle and the other one didn't, and you applied a finger bending additive over the top of this one with the 90-degree angle, then it would make the finger look straight, because now you're rotating it back 90 degrees. So make sure that if you apply something to an animation, that whatever motion is on that animation is not going to counter what you're adding to it. So if I apply this to this, then it'll make this look like this. And I'm going to show that to you right now. So we're going to come in here to the animation blueprint, and we are going to go to the anim graph. And let's see, where should I apply this at? I should apply after the locomotion. So I'm going to do an apply. Actually, for now, let's do it on the idle so that I can demonstrate this to you first, the difference. Apply additive. And I will create a sequence player. Now just bear with me. Now right here on the sequence, I'm going to expose this as a pin. This will be a trick that you'll find very useful. Then I'm going to promote this to a variable, and I'm going to call this idle additive. And I don't think you need to expose that for it to show up on the other one, but I'm going to compile that. And I'm just going to set this as the default value. And so you'll see what happens here right away. He's in the idle, and now he looks like he's in the same exact position. Now the fingers will still move along with it. But if we change this from selected frame to selected animation scaled, it should use the whole animation. And it does. Now the fingers move because I didn't prevent the fingers from moving in the animation. So if we come back in here and I come to this additive animation, if I come to this layer right here, and let's just type, let's see, yeah, so these are the toes, and all of this right here if I delete all of this except for the first frame, because we don't want it to mess up the additive we put on the additive layer. And now if I come to all of these and I delete all of these, then you should see that the fingers don't move. Now this one is, this hand is moving. So that parent thing that we added didn't have the actual result. Alright, so I was going to show you all how to fix that, but I'm having issues with bugs inside of Sequencer right now, so I'm going to have to skip that part for now. But basically, you see what the applying the additive did when you applied it to the idle. And now I'll just copy this right here, and we'll come out of here. And I will just do another one. And I will promote this to a variable, and I will call this loco additive. And doing it this way, I'll go ahead and show you all the reason why I did it this way. And you'll see the character blew up, but that's because nothing's assigned to it. If we come over here to the Quinn one and we go to class defaults, then you'll see that we have these animations here. And you'll see that this one is being applied to her. Now if we remove that, you'll see that it goes back to the idle. And I'll go ahead and reset that to default. And now if I set this, now you'll have, if I set this to the additive, we'll have two additives being applied. and we don't want that. So I will say I will just do that, and I will set the default value to 0. And well, it looks like we have a slight issue here. Let's see what it's doing over here. You'll see that this is 0, but right here it's adding the loco additive. And if I clear this one, it shouldn't have an effect on it, and it doesn't. So if I clear this one, you'll see that it has an effect. Now, let's see if there's any issue in game. So you'll see that whenever you apply it to an animation it wasn't made for, you can get undesired results, which, you know, can be a serious issue in a lot of cases. So you have to plan your additives carefully. And so one way around that would be to actually use a layered blend per bone. And actually, let's just get all of this, and I will cut it. And we'll go into the main state here under locomotion, and we will do it right here. So we'll do the base blend here, and then we will copy and paste to this and plug that in there. And the reason why is because we need a base to apply the additive to, but for the layered blend per bone, we also need this to be the base. So actually, this would cause a problem. So what we would actually want to do is get the idle sequence here. And we will do this one the same way actually. We'll expose this as a pin, and we will promote this to a variable, and we will call this idle additive base. And the reason why is because we actually did this for the female version of this idle, not the male version. So you'll get better results if it is the female version. In fact, you could go ahead and change this one out too. And we'll just rename this one to idle. And you'll see by default I have it set as the female one, but you could set the default one to the male idle now, and then on the female one you could set it to the female idle. So with that out of the way, we have one more thing we have to do over here under the main. Well, let's just move this out so we can straighten these a little better. And now we have to set up this. So we can do a layered thing here, and we can type in the name spine 3 or whatever up or whatever it is, or you can use the new blend mask feature that lets you choose a blend mask. We could just use the upper body mask that's already here. And you could probably do mesh space rotation blend, but I don't think that's necessary. That's probably something you would use on a aim offset. For this though, we're not doing an aim offset, and you'll see it's moving there. And so if I go ahead and let me just do it this way. If I go ahead and open up this right here and I stop this, I can get that sci-fi weapon, which is the Darkness Assault Rifle. And I can come back into here and go into details, and I can just, I should be able to just copy and paste this. Let me see. Go to, yeah, it's in relative. It's because I attached this to the hand R. Yeah. So obviously we have some issue here with this additive. Let me see. Oh no, it's the rotation is what I'm having issues with. Okay, I'll just have to re-rotate it. I guess the rotation is a little bit different there. No, for some reason the additive is actually not coming across as expected. It might be because I swapped this over to the scaled. Let's just go back to this and see if it helps. It does not. Okay. Let's try mesh space. Now you'll see something different here, and we will have to apply a mesh space additive. And we will use mesh space rotation. And now it looks a little better. Will that be enough? Almost. You see that the mesh space is far more accurate than local space, but we still have some obvious issues here. Normally what you would do is you could use the additives, and then you could use a 2-bone IK to take advantage of the IK positioning, and that would allow you to move the hands into place the way they do it in ALS. I think I've done a video breaking down how the hand IK works in ALS. But let's see. That's in mesh space. What if I do scaled? Scaled makes it a bit more stable, but there's still an offset here. So the scaled, it takes into consideration the entire animation, and since these animations are basically the same except for the additive offsets, that's the reason why it's now more accurate. But the hand positioning is still off. All right, I'm back. So I found out the reason why the hands were quite a bit off from where they should have been. So let me go ahead and show you the reason why. Again, make sure that this is mesh space rotation blend. That is actually important because we want that mesh space accuracy, not local space. I don't think we need scale because we're not scaling anything, but yeah, so everything's got to be a mesh space for this. And you do need to use selected animation scaled and mesh space for this to work properly, since it is an entire animation that we're blending over. So if it were just a pose, you could use selected animation frame, but because this is an entire animation, we have to blend over this like that. So the actual issue was actually with the upper body mask, so I had to modify it. You can create a new blend profile by going to blend profile and saying blend mask. I just went ahead and modified this one since it's just a tutorial, and I'll show you what I did. Is I set all of these to 1 because you want the entire arm to be fully blended, because this is an additive animation in this instance. But we went ahead and added. I went ahead and gradually stepped down right here on the spine bones. I went ahead, even though I don't think that we really need the corrective bones because we didn't animate them, I went ahead and blended those fully anyway. Same with these and on the other arm as well. And that's pretty much it. I didn't touch anything else on this. And when you do that, you should be able to come back in here and it should look proper. And you'll see that the additive animation now looks just like I made it inside of the animation sequence. And so I'll put them side by side and and make things a little bit larger so you can see them better. And so I'll go ahead and play that, and you'll see. So I didn't take the hand motion off. I might have to do a separate video on how to do that for this, since mine was bugging out for some reason, my sequencer. I don't know why, but when I tried to swap the constraints over on that bone, on that IK hand bone, it didn't matter what I did, it kept messing up. It kept coming over here off to the side and doing all kinds of funky stuff. So that has to do with some kind of bug in the constraint system right now. I must have triggered it because I've used it before and it worked anyway. So that's how you do additive animations. Now, that was the first time I've actually done one like this, and so there was a lot of trial and error there on my part. So I hope you'll excuse how I had to keep clipping the video to make corrections. But yeah, so now you have this stuff here. You could turn that on, but you're just adding an additive over the top of an additive, and it's kind of pointless. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much how you do it. So I hope you all guys found this helpful. If you did, make sure to like down below and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer them, and I'll see y'all guys in the next video.